In the loud, flashy world of tech giants, we think we see everything. Fortunes are made and they're lost right out in the open for everyone to see. But what if I told you the biggest empires, they aren't built with a bang? They're built with a blueprint, quietly, methodically. And while we were all distracted by the fireworks, one company was laying the foundation for something massive. The story of AI these last couple of years has been, well, an absolute gold rush. Just total, explosive, chaotic growth. But this isn't a story about the guys digging for gold. It's about the silent architect who figured out the real money was in building the entire town. And to really get their blueprint, we have to go back to the exact moment their fortress walls started to crack. To get the master plan, you first have to understand the crisis. See, for decades, Adobe was the undisputed king of creativity, a digital empire with what seemed like impenetrable walls, built on legendary software like Photoshop and Premiere Pro. And then, almost out of nowhere, the barbarians were at the gate.
I mean, it happened so fast, it would give you whiplash. In 2022, AI that could create images from just text went from some niche thing researchers talked about to a global phenomenon. By 2023, the floodgates were just blown wide open. A torrent of new, scrappy AI startups started dropping tools that could do in seconds what used to take pros hours in Adobe software. And the market? Well, the market started to whisper. Is the king about to be dethroned?
For any investor, a company's moat is everything. It's that special advantage that protects it from the competition. For years, Adobe's moat was its incredibly powerful, complex software that people spent entire careers mastering. But AI was a cannonball, and it was threatening to blast a hole right through that moat. The very foundation of their empire was shaking.
And right here, this is where the story takes a fascinating turn. Because while the rest of us saw a giant on its back foot, desperately trying to fend off attacks, what was really happening was the quiet execution of a brilliant three-part strategy. Adobe wasn't crumbling. Oh no. It was transforming into the silent architect of the entire new AI world.
Okay, so part one of the master plan, don't abandon your fortress. Instead, rebuild it from the inside out with a totally new kind of weapon. Adobe went to work embedding an absolute arsenal of AI features directly into the tools that millions of professionals already live and breathe in every single day. And these upgrades were surgical. We're not talking about some cute little gimmicks here. The AI object masking in Premiere, that doesn't just save time, it literally liberates video editors from hours of soul-crushing manual work. Or the AI calling in Lightroom. It finds the best shot out of 1,000 photos instantly, a job that used to burn an entire afternoon. This was all about making their core products 10 times more efficient for the pros who already pay for them. They didn't just defend their turf, they upgraded it into a high-tech super fortress. All right, so with the core reinforced, the architect began the second and honestly probably the most brilliant phase of the entire plan. It was a move that, on the surface, seemed completely crazy. Instead of fighting the competition, Adobe invited them inside the fortress walls. Just think about this for a second. Every single week, it feels like a new, mind-blowing AI model gets released. Trying to build a better version of every single one, that's impossible. It's a game of whack-a-mole on a global scale. So Adobe made a totally different bet. What if they didn't have to beat them? What if they could just absorb them? And this just perfectly illustrates the sheer scale of that bet. I mean, look at this list. It's a who's who of AI innovation. By integrating models from Google, from OpenAI, from Runway, and dozens of others right into Photoshop and Premiere, Adobe is turning its products from just a tool set into a universal command center. Why would you ever leave Adobe to use another AI model when you can get them all right inside the workflow you already know? For anyone watching the markets, this is the textbook creation of a powerful new platform moat. Adobe's positioning itself not as just another AI tool company, but as the essential platform where all the other AI tools come together, the one indispensable operating system for AI creativity. The more models they add, the more valuable the platform gets, and the harder it is for anyone else to even try to compete. They're becoming the Switzerland of AI. So, the core is fortified, and the alliances are forged. Now, the architect turns their gaze outward. It was time to expand the empire into totally new, uncharted territory, way beyond the traditional world of creative software. This right here, this is the next billion-dollar question for everyone. As we move from typing into a Google search bar to just asking a chatbot for answers, the entire world of marketing and advertising is being rewritten from the ground up. I mean, if an AI is giving you the answer, how do you make sure your brand is the one it talks about? Yeah, Adobe saw this coming a mile away. And their answer was to spend this, almost $2 billion. Not on another creative tool, but on a digital marketing platform called SEMrush. To a lot of people, this move seemed like it came out of left field, but it wasn't. It was a calculated strike deep into the future of how the internet works. This move is all about a brand new acronym you're going to hear a lot about, GEO, Generative Engine Optimization. Just think of it as the new SEO. It's the science of making your brand visible to AIs. By buying SEMrush, a leader in this space, Adobe is betting on owning the entire marketing toolkit for this new AI-driven world. So now they don't just sell you the tools to create stuff, they're selling you the tools to make sure that stuff actually gets seen. But getting seen is only one part of the puzzle. The empire's expansion needed more than just technology. It needed to conquer a new frontier. Building AI that doesn't just understand words, but actually understands culture. Now, this partnership with Humane is an absolute masterstroke of both geopolitical and tech strategy. Instead of some one-size-fits-all global model, Adobe is building a custom, culturally aware AI specifically for the Arab world. By using Humane's Arabic first language model, they can serve a market of 400 million people with an AI that gets local nuance, tradition, and identity. This isn't just expansion. It's them planting a strategic flag in entirely new AI markets. So, what does this all add up to? When you finally step back and look at the entire chessboard, you start to see that Adobe isn't just playing the same game as everyone else. They're playing a completely different game altogether. This really clarifies the different bets being made, right? OpenAI wants to build the single best AI brain. Nvidia wants to own all the hardware that brain runs on. Canva is betting everything on making it super simple. But Adobe's strategy? It's unique. They want to become the indispensable platform that brings them all together. A central hub that actually leverages everyone else's innovation for its own gain. For an investor, this lays out the stakes perfectly. The upside is absolutely massive. If this strategy works, Adobe becomes the essential gateway for all professional AI work. Period. The downside? Well, it's a strategy that's built on a web of alliances. It depends heavily on partners staying partners, and the technical challenge of making all these different AIs work together smoothly, it's just monumental. Which brings us right back to this silent architect. The foundation is laid, the walls are reinforced, the alliances have been forged, and new territories are being claimed. The structure of this new empire is finally visible, but only for those who know where to look. This quote from Adobe's own CEO, Shantanu Narayan, just nails the vision. Notice he's not saying Adobe versus Google. He's saying Adobe's creative DNA is fusing with Google's AI models. It is a strategy of synthesis, not conquest. It's about building a platform so open and so powerful that it becomes the gravitational center of the creative universe. And that right there is the question that's going to define the next decade of this entire industry. Adobe has placed its bet, not on having the single best weapon, but on building the unbreachable fortress that can house every army, an open empire in an age of walled gardens. It is a bold, audacious, incredible gamble. And now, the world is watching to see if the silent architect has just checkmated the entire board.